Good morning. Hello. Welcome to our How Do I. I'm Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and I am so happy to be here with you today. We're going to have lots of fun, and I am going to show you how to make beautiful hand-looking stitches using a machine. A specific machine, I must say, and it is the Sashiko machine. Now, what is Sashiko? Sashiko is a hand art of making stitches that are uniformly shaped, the same size, and the space is the same size, and it was created, well, let's get a little bit of the history. Way back, I'm not going to give you dates because I don't remember, but way back in ancient times in Japan, the hierarchy of a person was visible, obviously visible, by what fibers and colors they were allowed to wear by those who controlled the country. And so they were only allowed to wear certain colors or certain fibers. And in the farming communities, they were relegated to wearing very simple woven fabrics, and they had access to plants that they could dye the fabric indigo blue. Now, since they were poor, they didn't have the ability to just go to the store and buy new clothes. And this, I'm talking, this is like, what are those, the empires ago. This isn't just like in 1952. No, this is like way back. Anyhow, so they had, when they got when their fabric, where their coat wore out or they got a rip or something like that, instead of throwing it away, they would patch it. They would take a piece of the fabric and patch the area, and then they would use small stitches to marry the new fabric to the old fabric, which became an art form within the villages, because the different villages and families would have different patterns that designated where they were from, right? And so that's really kind of cool. And did you know that they just were so poor. Caste systems really don't work, do they? But they were so poor that they even had to make their own shoes and use old garments to make shoes because their feet were so cold. I just think that's horrible. But the art form is absolutely gorgeous. So let's take a look at some of these samples that I have here. Now, these are all done using the Sashiko machine, and you can see that we have really nice uniform stitches. Now, the Sashiko, the traditional Sashiko handwork it should look like a little grain of rice, because it was done with white thread on the blue fabric, and the stitches and the spacing should be even, and it should, look like a little grain of rice. So now this is more of an artistic rendering. I did use the Sashiko machine to go on more of an interesting art piece here, but then I also used it in the green, and I even used the Sashiko machine to put the binding on, because this machine, you can use the bias binder from like the Triumph machine. It's made by Baby Lock, so the Baby Lock cover hem belt loop attachment you can use the binding attachments and things like that. So that's just one piece there. Now this piece was kind of fun to do. Now this is embroidered patterns that are supposed to look like Sashiko, but the little stitching that I used here for the quilting was all done on the Sashiko machine. So if you're a traditionalist and you like the look of Sashiko, you can do patterns like this, right? You can find those hand patterns to create a Sashiko pattern, but personally I like the versatility in using this to create the quilting, to put on the binding, or like this piece here, I quilted the fabric with a tone on tone. Let me flip it to the back and see if you can see that a little bit better. It's tone on tone, so it's a little bit hard to see, but I used the Sashiko machine to create the, to create the stitches there. Isn't that fun? And I even did it on this is all Sashiko stitches here too. So that's really, really kind of a fun thing to do. And then this piece is more of a Hawaiian-inspired style quilt, but I did use the Sashiko to do the quilting around the piece, and then again for the binding. And then this one was just silly fun. This is not traditional or anything. This is more of a modern quilt. But again, the Sashiko looks really awesome as an accent. Now, if you want to do some other things that are more of an accent, you can decorate your fabric, whether it be for like a little bag. Oh, I love using it for the top of my tote bags, because then instead of top stitching, I have that. Now, this is just a little purchase, little outfit, but this was fun to do a little applique and then just do the stitches to just kind of hold down the fusible applique. Okay. And I think my favorite way to use the Sashiko machine is on a ready-to-wear garment. So on this top, it was a purchase garment, but I added the embroidery and then I added the top stitch around the collar and the cuffs. And I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, let's talk about this. You can see that there is the white thread and then there's nothing. Then there's the white thread and then there's nothing. And there really is nothing. Now, sometimes we have on our machines at home, you have a quilting stitch that you use clear thread in and it pulls up the bobbin. This actually literally there's no stitch here. And you can see on the back, it has what looks to be more like a running stitch. And that is because this machine has no needle thread at all. There's no needle thread on this machine. There's no threads up here. There's only a bobbin thread. So let me take you to the front of the machine and I want to show you how the machine, how it functions, and I'm going to show you how it works. So here on this side, on the right hand side, we have two little levers, and they're both numbered from 2 down to 5, and this one as well. 2 to 5. The one on the left is the stitch length. So if I make this small at 2, it's going to be a tiny little stitch length. And if I take it down to 5, it's going to be a longer stitch length. If I move this side, which is stitch spacing, if it's up, it's going to be a tiny space in between, and then if I take it down, it's going to be a big space between. So here are just some examples of the different 2, 3, 4, 5, and then with the combination of the different spacings that you can have along with the different stitch lengths. So smallest stitch length, largest stitch length, and then the bottom one is where we have the largest space between. Okay, so that's what we're going to get when we do our Sashiko. And this machine does have a needle up and needle down. So if I want to stop with the needle down, I can just push my needle, my button, and it's now in the down position. Push it again, it's up. Okay, takes a full revolution. So let me show you how this works. So I'm just going to grab, my foot control is hiding from me. I am just going to take a few stitches, and I don't know, let's go to the camera on the left, and so you can get in and see how this works. So there is no needle thread, but there is a bobbin thread, and can you see it pulling up? Let me take one stitch at a time, and then watch as it pulls up. It's going to pull up that thread, and then this little finger grabs that thread, and then it creates that the stitch on the top. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to now pull it to the back, and you see this little piece right here? This does two things. This is a holder for the thread tail, and it's also a thread cutter. So, and then there is the stitch that we just made. Okay, so there's no stitches on the top, it's only stitches on the bottom. So it's just like magic. Okay. And yes, Lena, you need to get your machine out and start playing with it, because it's absolutely amazing. Okay, so we're going to switch back over to the front of the machine, and I want to talk about how to deal with the bobbin. So we have the needle up and the needle down. One thing you're not going to do is go change the bobbin before the machine is ready. Okay, so what we're going to do is push and hold this button until the machine puts a green light at the bobbin. So there's no needle thread, there's just the bobbin thread. So now let me tell you about why this machine was created, because this is really, really interesting. There's a gentleman who is I'm going to say it wrong. I believe he's the president or the owner of the factory in Japan, the Baby Lock factory. He's the man that's started Baby Lock Surgers way back in the 60s and that brought him to the home market through our partners of Baby Lock here in the US. But anyway, his wife loved to do sashiko. She absolutely loved to do sashiko. It was a passion of hers to do that art. But what happened, and along with a lot of us, right, as we get older, maybe our hands don't work as well or our eyes don't work as well. And she got to a point where she could no longer do hand sashiko. So he made this machine for her. Now, isn't that sweet? I got to tell you, that just really is so touching. And I'm really excited when my husband takes out the trash. But this man made his wife a beautiful, beautiful machine. My husband does more than just take out the trash, but you get my point. Anyway, so this was created for her so she could keep doing sashiko even when her hands would not allow her to. It's just such a nice story. Okay, so we're going to change the bobbin here in a second, but I want to show you how we're going to do that. So the machine does have a spool pin up here. That's for working with the bobbin thread. And I do have a few different threads here that you might choose to work with when you're doing your sashiko. Now, for every sashiko stitch, it doesn't just take a single stitch like we're used to with our machine, but it's 2 strands of the thread. Okay, so whatever you're looking at, you're going to get it twice. So like this is King Tut, which is a beautiful 40 weight thread. That's a really nice one to use. I have some regular Aerofill, which is just regular sewing thread, and it's a little bit heavier. I also have, this is a Quilter Select, and this is a 60 weight, and then this sulky is can't remember, this is a 30 weight, and we're going to use the 30 weight today. Now, if you are wondering what threads you can use, 30 weight is the thickest you want to go. And it's a fairly thick thread. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to show off really well. But how the machine forms that stitch is, you remember it went down and grabbed the bobbin thread. That little hook is so tender. If you try to use a big, heavy thread in it, what it's going to do is it's probably going to just break your little hook right off, and then it won't work. That's bad. That's not fun. So anyway, we're just going to put this on just like we do a normal spool of thread. And then to wind our bobbin, we're going to come over here. There's a little clip right here. And then at the top, this is a little bit different than a regular machine, but it has a pre-tension guide that you just clip right into, and then we're going to set the thread right over top. Now it does use class 15 bobbins, so if you have some bobbins from your other machine, you can use those. And I'm just going to flip that, and then I will just I'm just going to wind some thread on the bobbin. Now, I usually do kind of just hold it a little bit here so it goes through my fingers too, just so it's nice and smooth, and I just don't want a sloshy bobbin. So we'll just put a little bit on here, and then that should be good. And let me clip him off, and we will take him, and I'll show you how he goes in the machine. Now, remember, I have to push and hold the button so that button turns green on here. Now we're ready to open this door. So when we open the door, we're going to see where the bobbin is. Okay? Now the bobbin area, it looks a lot like a lot of machines that you might remember with a insert bobbin. So I'm going to take that out. And I'm going to take my thread, and I'll just remove the whole bobbin because we're going to switch colors, okay? Now, when you put your bobbin in, you're going to put it in so it will turn clockwise. So this is very similar until we get to about right here. Now, on here we have, see the little thumb with a little hole in it? There's actually 2 of them. See? 2? And you're going to go from the back to the front through both holes. Okay? Now we're going to put him back into into the machine. Now, if you have one of these and you've got this little guy, I call this the mohawk because that actually is up, you leave him there and that helps the thread feed nicely. Now, this little thumb that's sticking out matches that little yellow dot that's right inside the machine. And to the left of that little dot, there's a little cutout that our little thumb fits right into. So I'll hold his little door, the little handle, and we'll put him in there. Oh, there he is. He's clicked into place. Now, here's where the fun goes. You want to hold this lightly. Don't hold it really tight, but hold it lightly. And I'm going to turn the hand wheel once. Nothing happens. That's normal. But the second time it gets caught up on the needle, can you see it pulling the thread up there? And then we're going to swipe that thread off to the back because now it's on top of the needle plate. And we want to hold that and do it one more time, and you're going to see it grab the latch. Okay? All those things are very important. Now we can close the door, and actually, I need to pull it a little bit because I need to have enough to go into the holder. So the machine needs tautness on the thread to be able to form a stitch. So let's go ahead and I'm going to grab another piece of fabric here, and let's take a look at what we have done with this thread. Well, I have a really long stitch, a really long space, so I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. And depending on how you position your spacing is going to make all the difference in the world. And like I said, I am not a traditional Sashiko person, but I love the beauty that this creates for creating these stitches. Isn't that cool? It's something that my regular machine just cannot do. But let's look at something else that we can do. I'm going to put my foot down and I'm going to go ahead and stop with the needle in the down position. And I have a couple of pieces of embroidery floss here. And I have a pink and a green. And I think I'm just going to leave them together, and I'm going to put them around the back of the needle. And then I'll put my foot back down. Now, I'm going to take a stitch. Actually, I should have put them in front. I'm a dork. Let me put him in front because he did not stitch it down. I want it to, there we go. It needs to lock him in place. Okay, so now you can crisscross in front of your stitch. Every stitch you can crisscross. And I'll just take him and we'll go back the other way. Unless you kick your foot control out under the cupboard and you can't reach it anymore. That did not work. Okay, now we're good to go. Okay, and I'll switch him back. And you can do this with all sorts of fun threads and ribbons and do all sorts of just beautiful, beautiful things on garments and home deck. Just some beautiful things. So it's lots of fun. Okay, I'll do a couple more and then I'll just show you what it looks like. So that way you get the idea. Okay. Okay, now I need the needle to be up when I stop. And then we can pull this to the back and go into the thread cutter. And then there's that really pretty braided, well, it's just floss that I've done there. But isn't that cool? So no matter what you might have for a project idea that you want to do, whether you love doing traditional things or you want to add some spice and some fun stuff to your regular sewing, the Sashiko machine is so much fun to have and to use, and I think you're going to love it. So I'd love to see things that you do, so next time you see me, show me some pictures. I want to see them. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed our How Do I today, and we look forward to seeing you next week at the same time. Bye-bye.